In recognition of the mental health challenges of our citizens, I brought forward this motion last night that the Mayor request the Provincial Minister of Health allow all individuals to access civic recreation facilities paid for and maintained by their tax dollars without restriction in order to minimize social isolation and promote positive mental health, with a carbon copy to the UBCM and other BC municipalities. Here's how my co-workers voted and a caption of the debate.
Councillor me to speak to a matter that has been deemed expedient.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have the motion in front of you, but I'm going to read a bit of background statement, bit of background information to help you in this motion. We know access to recreation has many benefits. The BC RPA, the British Columbia Recreation and Parks Association, BC's guiding association on recreation, states, ours is a story of creating community connectedness and individual well-being based on the knowledge and recognition that recreation and active living, as well as access to parks and the natural environment, have significant impacts on our physical and mental health. In Maple Ridge, we recognize the benefits of recreation for our citizens, and as such, investments in recreation programs and facilities are a priority. Meaningful leisure activity contributes to the well-being of our citizens. The programs we deliver at our facilities reduce isolation, promote community pride, increase self-esteem, build connected communities, strengthen family bonds. Participation bridges all ages, ethnicities, abilities, and economic backgrounds. In Maple Ridge, we believe recreation is a right, and as such, we assure all citizens, regardless of socioeconomics, can have opportunities to participate through our subsidized programs. We strive to create facilities and programs available for people of all abilities. Recreation from a health perspective is the best preventative health measure we can take to reduce illness. Our citizens want access to civic facilities for themselves, their children, and their parents. Senior isolation, mental health, community disconnection are all serious challenges we are experiencing. The province conducted a survey in April to May of 2021, asking British Columbians about the impact on their lives from COVID-19. Nearly 47% of respondents said they have seen their mental health worsen due to the pandemic. Over 394,000 people filled out the survey. With the recent lifting of many capacity restrictions, the acknowledgement that recreation contributes to one's mental health and is critical in prevention, we ask that public facilities be open to all our citizens to help promote equal opportunities to recreate to all our citizens and to start the healing and reconnection our community members are so desperate for.
And just if I may, before I go to council members, I will say that I received a significant number of emails from various residents that are requesting access to our facilities. We did operate them in the earlier stages of the pandemic with considerable work-safe programs in place to ensure that everybody would be healthy and well and be able to recreate. And that was it. It was difficult to get that mobilized, but we did it, and certainly the persons that are writing to me, and I would imagine that many of you are also receiving the same, are looking for essentially tax refunds on something that we're not able to do. So I think that this is certainly something that makes sense to see what we can get facilitated through the minister to ensure that people do have access to something that they are paying for, and comfortable that our staff will facilitate safety and wellness for all. So with that on the speakers list, first I have Gordy, please. Councillor Robson. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that I think we should be leaving the matters of public health to the province and to Bonnie Henry, and I don't think it should be decided by politicians. Thank you.
All right, I believe that this is a request. This is not a dictate. It's a request for facilitation. Thank you. Councillor Youssef.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you to staff, I was under the impression that a notice of motion is to present the motion. but it seems like we're voting on the motion.
Well, it's, this was rattled off at the rather last moment. It's because the mandates have, to a degree, been lifted, that this is just a matter deemed expedient as opposed to what it's titled as. 1301 is matters expedient as opposed to notices of motion, which is 1600.
Okay, so this is a matter deemed expedient, not a notice of motion.
That's correct. We're just going to write a letter. That's the request of Councillor Metis, that Council endorse that effort to write a letter.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. While I appreciate the spirit of where the letter is going, and of course I, to a great extent, agree the fact that we need recreation and we need to be outside and we need to have that human connection, I would have loved to have seen this motion come forward a year or so ago, whereas now as we're drawing down the mandates and all the restrictions are being lifted, I'm not sure if we're spinning our wheels and getting nowhere, as that seems to be the direction that we're headed in either way. And I really appreciate the spirit of where you're coming from. I just wonder how effective we're going to be. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And maybe I'll go to Councillor Dewick first, if I may, as you spoke to your own, and then I'll circle back to you, Councillor Metis. Please go ahead, Councillor Dewick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate where Councillor Youssef is coming from. I think I'm taking it to be we want just clarification because, as the mayor said, there was a change. There has been several changes, and so it really is what is happening in the future. What is the Dr. Henry's, where's she going with this? Where's the Minister of Health going with this? Just so we can advise our citizens, because as was said, there's some things that are not within our jurisdiction. So it's really just seeking clarification, if I'm correct. And so I'm prepared to support it. And yeah, I guess the notice of motion, because it's under 1301, can be a little confusing. Yeah.
Councillor Metis, please. Back to you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The reason that I feel, and I appreciate Council's indulgence to make it a matter of expedition, is just that the overwhelming correspondence that I'm sure you're all receiving from citizens with questions that we just don't have the capacity to answer. And where I am seeing, and we're all seeing restrictions lifted, there's still a segment of our population who doesn't have an end date for when they can access recreation. And so it would be good for us to at least have some context on when that date will arrive. And of course, the other piece about citizens paying for these facilities and not having access, I think that we owe our tax-paying citizens at least an attempt to get an answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the Chief Financial Officer did provide some information on the approximate value of that, 6%, and that, but unfortunately, it is not within municipal purview to be able to discount that because people are not able to access that facility. And we learned that right at the very beginning of the pandemic when we actually had to close it. So, and that question was asked then, and it's now being asked again. So, with that, really, this is the only option we have to see if we can get it opened faster. All right, with that, all those in favor, please. Anyone opposed? Councillor Robson, Councillor Youssef opposed.